Hello.
Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'd also like to acknowledge that we're meeting on traditional unceded territory of Mi'kmaq First Nations. Um, and we do have a declaration of conflict, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay, that's good.
That'd be about it.
Okay. Maybe we'll go through the agenda and then do it at the last. Is that cool?
Sure, doesn't.
That works. Okay. So approval of the agenda from last meeting. Um, do we have to make a motion to approve it, right?
Approve the minutes, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Does anyone want to second that? Approval of agenda. Do we? Yeah, we have a mic on calling in. Approval of agenda. So, yeah. Did we just approve the minutes or the agenda? We just approved the minutes, right?
Yeah, approve the minutes from last meeting.
Minutes of last meeting.
Yeah.
Do we? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so we're good with the agenda?
So you need a mover and a seconder to
Yeah.
receive the minutes as circulated?
Can I move it even if, or it has to be
You
seen?
you asked them to move.
I move
Okay.
that the minutes be approved and circulated and read.
And I'll second it.
Perfect. Thank you. And we also, speaking of minutes, we need a new minute taker. So I'm wondering if anyone wants to do that.
I'll step forward if nobody else is interested at all.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want me to do
Well,
it.
I'm not good at it either.
Mine would be
It's
very-
okay. I wasn't good at it.
I think my minutes would be too brief for you.
See, I can't think and write at the same time, so.
Me
it's
too.
harder for me to participate, that's all.
Um,
That's okay.
You do have to capture the major components. It doesn't, it's not debated by any means.
Oh, isn't it?
No, it's just a matter of the committee discussed this, the motion was made, and if there was some discussion, the discussion was this, and
Yeah.
then this is what they decided.
And if we had to refer, it's recorded, right?
Minutes that you ever taken, Alex, I find was superb.
I
Yeah.
didn't take them. It would have been Ellen.
yeah, and
Maybe Alan can take them.
Alan's got, unfortunately, Alan's got, what Alan's kind of overburdened
yeah.
with other committees and meetings.
I can send you minutes that I've put to, and anything that Ellen sent, I can send, because I know it's easier when you have like a reference. Because I totally understand. I am really bad at like writing notes, anything like computer related.
It's
Can I
the
just
hardest thing
remind,
to fill.
can I remind everyone to press the button when you're speaking, because we have mic on the other line, so he won't hear you unless the.
I just have it like on.
Yeah,
Is that
keep
good?
yours on,
Okay.
and then they can keep theirs on.
The red button, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
So
you're
I'm
good.
on.
Yeah.
Hold the mic a little bit further, pull it towards you.
There you go.
I just don't want to, I'm just testing my button.
It works. We're good. So we're good with. Do we have to make a motion to make Paul the minute taker?
Yep.
Okay. I guess I'll make the motion to make Paul the minute taker. If anyone wants to second it.
You'll have to second it.
I second it. Great.
I second it.
Perfect. Thank you.
All in favor? Aye.
All in
It
favor?
feels so weird, you're so empty. But
All
yeah, I.
Opposed? Carried.
I'm not sure if you guys had a chance to read or at least skim the link that I sent maybe a month ago, but I really like how in Kitchener-Waterloo, they had made a recommendation, basically, to gather data from unhoused people and base their entire homelessness plan on that. And I was wondering, kind of like how you guys remember with short-term rentals, how the city had Robert and he gathered all that info. It's a little bit different because he was, extracting info on Airbnb. But I was wondering if we could do something similar in terms of gathering data, but from unhoused people and the organizations that currently service unhoused people.
That sounds like a good idea, really, it would be valuable information to have.
I really think so too, because how are we to know what they need?
I'm on the board of,
You need your mic.
I'm on the board of Gifts from the Heart too, and before we came here, I was over at Jack Blanchard Hall. Last night, there were 12 homeless people sleeping there. It's really
Yeah.
well laid out the way they have it. And there's lots of food, and they could use a few more volunteers, but they have enough to make it work.
That's good.
And that's really working well. But they're all there, just lying there doing nothing. And it'd be a great place to survey them, in these shelters.
And I'm sure they'd be very willing to,
Yeah.
give us their input.
And we have a
because,
seniors home in Summerside, and right next to that, there's another shelter similar to Jack Blanchard,
Yeah.
So I'd love to, I'm always biting off more than I can chew, but I'd love to do that kind of a survey.
Yeah, I think it would be really useful. And even with the info that Robert gathered regarding short-term rentals, it's obviously useful outside of just the city. So if we gathered that information, we could really give it to all levels of government if
It's
they
too bad
wanted.
we didn't have a consistent set of questions that we're going to ask them.
Yeah,
So
I might be able to find, more specifics about the survey that they did.
if you can email me some questions, I would
Yeah.
take on that task.
Yeah, that could work.
And so that we'd be consistent with what we ask and the responses that we receive.
Yeah.
Just to, in regard to, we're doing a number of things because of the official plan and we are gathering data, but, again, Robert is pretty tied up. We're short-staffed. So, if you want it, council would have to make the determination to direct that work, but I'm here. I understand what you're looking for. If we can start to collate that information in regard to other work we're doing, we can do that, but, we can't drop everything specifically. That type of data is very hard to get because it's not data. You almost have to do a point-in-time count to find out where these people are. So there's some other people that may have that data, but at any rate, we will see what we can do under the work schedule that we have now. But anything specific, you'd have to go and get council to agree to direct staff to do something. Thank you.
Yeah, well, okay, so I won't proceed then until I hear something official from somebody. That's what you're saying, isn't it, Alex?
I think what I'm saying is, whether it's the mayor or somebody that sits on this committee, you may want to have a conversation with them in regard to what you're looking for, and then I report to the planning committee. So the planning committee sets the work schedule in the planning department. So if they they direct me as to what to do, what work is on their radar, because unfortunately, with the amount of work, if something new comes on, something old has to come off, because again, we just don't have the capacity right there. We've got 3 open positions over there right now, so we're just trying to kind of keep up with all of the other commitments that have been made. Thanks.
So it would be a little bit premature for me to,
Yeah.
for Robin to try and get a set of
I think
questions.
maybe have a discussion with any of the councillors or any of the councillors on the planning committee. I can tell you after who's on the planning committee, but somebody should bring that forward if you want something specific from
It
the
just would
department.
be, it would be valuable information if you had a set of questions and everyone was asked the same question and
Yeah.
take their responses, collate their responses, see what they look like,
Yeah.
divide them into categories, see what we've got. That, to me, that would, for my own personal use, I would find that useful.
Yeah, even for what you do outside of these meetings, I'm sure that
Yeah,
would be extremely
like all the
useful.
housing projects are involved.
Yeah.
I'd love to know that, because I'm talking to people now about trying to build a permanent 3 or 4 story building with the whole bottom floor used for overflow of homeless people, And I don't know where that's going to go, but I'm just telling you that there's a lot of talk going on, and I'm involved in some of it.
Yeah, I mean, data is everything, but some data is readily available and other is very specific. I don't know whether the Community Action Board that's with the John Howard Society, whether they've got a recent point in time study, but that's where that information would come from. Somebody has to literally go and interview
You
people.
have to literally go ask
well,
them.
And there are others that are better suited to that than we are, so I can make some inquiries to the CAB, the Community Action Board.
Well, over at the
That might be a
curling,
good idea.
I'm sorry.
Volunteer to do that, or you go?
I don't think so. No, I'm not sure what I'm doing. I'm,
Are you muted?
I don't know what's going on, I'm flashing green, what's that mean?
Well, you should be on red, so.
There's only a maximum of 3 users.
Oh,
Oh, I see.
oh, I should be off then, yeah.
I don't need to say anything now.
What are you trying to say, sir?
I was, I was just asking if you were volunteering to do the survey itself. No.
Initially, I was volunteering, but it seems a little more complicated based on the information provided by Mr. Forbes.
yeah, basically from what I understand, what Kitchener did was they paid someone to go out and do this survey. I'm not sure how long it took them. It didn't take them a very long time. It was a very rapid thing for them to gather that information because they were trying to put this in place before winter. But I don't mean to like minimize the workload or anything, but in Charlottetown, there's estimates of like 80 to 100 unhoused people at any given time. I think the hardest part might be just finding them.
So again, I'll follow up with the Community Action Board. They have an executive director, but those point-in-time surveys are standardized questions, right? Because they
Like what kind of questions?
again, I don't, but the fact is that they do, but they only do them they do them like once a year.
Okay.
They're not done frequently, but it is a standardized process, and every community does a point-in-time survey, and I think there's a standard suite of questions. So, I'll look into that, and I'll and maybe put one of you onto the executive director, and you can have that conversation with them, and they can help you in regard to what's involved in a point-in-time
Okay.
survey.
So we just do nothing until we hear from you?
I'll find the executive director's name, and then I'll forward it on, maybe to
Okay.
Robin, and you can follow up, and then have that conversation when it was last done. It may be done, may have recently been done, but
Well, yeah, if there's, I'd love to get my hands on the information. I'll wait till I hear from someone besides myself before I start asking questions. Thank
Well,
you.
I would have thought there would be some sort of survey by the province when they, are putting the mini homes or mobile homes in the COVID testing site area, in that parking lot, in that area. I would have thought they would have had some sort of information to base that
They
on.
might have, but I think the like kind of key difference is those are temporary solutions, and the whole, well, not the whole point, but a lot of the point with the Kitchener-Waterloo report type thing was they're working towards permanent solutions and how people want to get there, how unhoused people want to get to permanent solutions, and what exactly they need, what works, what doesn't.
I'm on the Charlottetown Area Christian Council executive, and this week we had Verna Ryan from, she's the Director of Strategic Initiatives for the Social Development and Housing, and she was a guest speaker, and we brought up the idea of the churches being on standby with their halls for overflow, something like Jack Blanchard is doing right now. And they seem fairly receptive to it, the people that were there. So, I mean, there's a lot of talk going on, a lot of people. We just need to make sure that we don't lose track of these conversations and something concrete can be put in writing about them. So I guess what I'm hearing now is trying to get information and a survey with the homeless people.
Yeah.
I'm just going to drop that ball till I hear from somebody who wants me to get more involved.
Yeah.
That looks like, Alec can advise us
Yeah.
on that.
And we'll see where we can go with that. And also, I know there's like not much we can do about this, but I don't know if you guys saw the IRAC approved rental increases for this year. And I was talking to one of my friends about it. Obviously, that percentage is devastating, up to 10.8% increase. And he said to me, one of my friends, he said, rent increases lead to tent increases. And I think we all need to like keep in mind that this problem is probably going to get worse before it gets better, which sounds terrible, but it's true. Like this is something that we need to keep revisiting because it's arguably the most important thing right now is people who are unhoused. Like not affording your rent and being on the edge of homelessness is obviously very important, but once you're already unhoused, like it's very dangerous.
It sounds like Matthew McKay and government are trying to, what's the word, overrule the IRAC ruling and to try to create some kind of an amendment. The mayor might know more about that.
I really hope they do, and if there's any way we can support that, totally would, because if my rent increases by 10%, I don't know where I'm going to get an extra $100 a month, to be honest. Like, and I know people who pay 50% of their wages to rent, like upwards. It's just scary.
So are you in the situation where your landlord could qualify for a 10%? Okay.
10.8.
Yeah,
10.8% because it's
Yeah.
oil heat, but yeah.
yeah.
I know my situation isn't as bad as a lot of people's because my rent is pretty low in comparison, but
Yeah.
So, Madam Chair, just to clarify what you just said, so if your apartment is oil heat, if it's heated by oil,
if it's heated by oil, it's up to 10.8. If it's not, it's 5 point something.
that's the breakdown. So they're discriminating against those that are using fossil fuels and those that are using non-fossil fuels.
And I also don't know, you know how if you have a heat pump, you need a backup source. I don't know if that includes people who have heat pumps and oil heat as a backup, but I'm assuming any landlord that can raise by 10.8% who wants a profit will simply do that.
And I suppose
We really not like rent control. It's always a good time for rent control, but if there's any good time for rent control, it's right now, this second.
Well, I believe that's what we've had up to this point, rent control.
Rent
And-
control in law, that doesn't change, based from 1% to 10%
Yeah.
year to year is insanity.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
why we have IRAC. IRAC is a quasi-judiciary system that allows, whether it's electrical companies or
Yeah.
renters or
thought-
landlords to
I thought,
increase rates.
yeah.
But if I could say one thing, it's not just rent and the next step is tent. There are seniors out there, and I spoke to some of them yesterday, that this 10%, 10.8%, will affect how they get out and socialize with their friends. So that's one group. Then you have other groups with a single mom or a single dad that have to work, keep food on the table,
Yeah.
provide a sheltered place, a warm place. These are all issues, and it covers a wide berth. So, yes, I understand that there is the marginalized in that where homelessness is just right around the corner, but there are many that are just around the other corner where this will be affected by this increase. Alex, or Madam Chair, is there anything that the committee could make a recommendation to say that they oppose this increase?
I would love to do that if we could, like write something up, maybe I'll email it.
I think, Your Worship, I think anything that comes through from the city would have to go to your colleagues. It would go through this committee to council, and you folks would have to, in council, would have to make a determination if you thought that was a prudent situation. Thank you. This
is kind of a random question, but do you guys remember during short-term rentals, I think Bob had written something and either sent it to council. Did he send it to council, a recommendation for short-term rentals? Can we do something similar?
Yes.
Okay.
That's, all of these committees, because I sit on numerous committees, they're all recommending bodies to council. Council speaks on behalf of the city and only council. So, and that pertains to me as well. I support these committees, but, so I facilitate that. So if you had something that you wanted to move, it would be in the minutes from this meeting in regard to, whatever came out of this meeting. And if you wanted to send something specific, it would go with the package as well. And then either the mayor or one of his colleagues could bring it up at council and then either fully endorse it or ask his colleagues to endorse it and then entrench it into some kind of a decision of the city.
Yeah.
Today, if we can draft language that would be, I'll count on you, Bill.
It would be more effective, and I'm just a resource person here, but if somebody could articulate, like Bob did, the former chair, very specifically as opposed to, and why, I mean, it's, the council packages are fairly broad in regard to what they're covering, and if a letter could be go with the package that could highlight that issue as opposed to that it's just an issue would be, I think, more impactful, but that's just a suggestion. Thank you.
No, I think you're right. I think it needs to be like somewhat specific of like a recommendation.
So, Madam Chair, could that be just a recommendation from this Affordable Housing Advisory Council, recommending that this advisory council does not support IRAC's decision to increase rents by 10.8% with fuel and half that using non-fossil fuels. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's 5 point something if it's not oil heat, but I actually don't even know. The thing I read was pretty vague from IRAC. It didn't say specifically, I don't think it said specifically if the landlord pays for oil heat or if the tenant does. I think it's just if it's oil heated.
If we're all in the same,
If we're all in the same spirit on this thing, we could make a motion saying that we recommend that the increases under any circumstance do not exceed 2.5%. That would cover a lot of.
We just don't know how inflation is going to be going forward, and I know, from my perspective, it's the people are having difficulty financing apartment buildings right now because the price has gone up so high on them. Now the interest rates have gone up so high. So, like, for anybody wanting to buy one, that's different than the situation we're into now a bit. But, if someone needs to refinance to fix something up or whatever they need, or if their mortgage is coming up for renewal, the increase in the oil and the increase in the costs and the increase in the mortgage payments are significant. So, just like when my own personal mortgage comes up for renewal, which is in like 2 years' time, it's going to be from, say 1.58 to 5% or something, So, it's everybody, I think, is going to be facing the same issue. Whether they're tenants or whether they're have their own personal mortgages, and they're trying to pay that. But I don't know what we can say to have additional justification or rationale to support the motion. And I don't know if you want to limit it, but, maybe you just say that there's a deferment on, recommending deferring until the issue can be studied in greater detail. I don't know. But if you limit it, if IRAC is there to study the issue, they have a lot more data than what we have. So I don't know.
We're just another voice, and everybody here that I'm listening to thinks 10% is ridiculous. So what we need to do is have our voice be heard by putting some kind of a motion on the floor that would say we want a reduction. But but it's more complicated than what I said. I realize you have to take into consideration inflationary rates. And believe me, from a personal point of view, trying to sell a house, I know how much that affected me. Okay. So what would you say would be a reasonable compromise between 2.5% and your inflationary knowledge?
I don't know,
You know,
you know.
Listening here in the space, and that why wouldn't we Iraq to speak?
Mike, we can't hear you.
Well, why can't we have Iraq come and explain their methodologies and why they have made their recommendation?
Why can't we have IRAC come and explain their reasoning?
And then make a motion.
hey, that's a good idea. I like that.
We could, but from what I understand, like, IRAC basically made their decision based on what they'd heard from both tenants and landlords. There was a lot more tenants, actually, that wrote to IRAC than landlords, but I know for a fact that landlords coordinated to ask for 10%. And I know that because of, like, other advocacy groups that I'm involved in, and when we were writing our emails to IRAC, we know that landlords coordinated to ask for 10%. So did IRAC base it solely on that, or did they take into consideration, they probably did take in consideration inflation, but I know that a lot of landlords coordinated in a similar fashion to tenants to try to ask for 10% specifically.
See, if you were to ask somebody like Connor Kelly, he would say 0 increase, you know.
Probably, and I would say the same, to be honest. But, you know, it's because my rent is still unaffordable. But even like 1 or 2% is, you know, it's not going to make or break someone, but 10% is literally make or break. This is going to make people homeless. It's going to make people food insecure.
And Rob and Madam Chair, the issue of housing and renters being forced to rent because they have limited rental units in the city, again, puts more pressure on our other levels of government to build, own, operate, and maintain social, affordable, and subsidized housing. And Bill is one of our knowledge barriers of that fact. So I think there's general agreement right here. We don't agree with the increase, correct?
Correct.
So that's a resolution in itself, that this body does not
Yeah.
agree with the increase.
We don't even have to, yeah, I feel like we don't even have to say like a specific
No.
number.
Just
Like,
say that-
I think you can just simply state that 10% is
See, we don't agree
way
with
too
the
much.
increase, and we're looking for a reasonable compromise that would take
Yeah.
into consideration inflation and all the other
And
Cost associated.
stakeholders
I would also say
involved in
taking,
coming up with a reasonable rate.
yeah, I would also say taking into account like wages, like, because whose wage has gone up almost 11%? Not very many people. I think like just because a landlord might be sinking money in for, you know, I don't know, oil heat's more expensive, then why should the tenant take that out of their paycheck? You know what I mean? It's a balance.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. We could just say 10% is too much, even 5 point whatever percent for places that don't have oil heat is it's a lot. So do you want to like, we could kind of draft something and maybe email it around tonight. I guess we still have 20 minutes. We might be able to just,
Yeah. So
you know,
it's,
write something.
I think there's a general feeling here, and Mike, if
Yeah.
you can hear us, that there is disagreement with such a huge increase. So the Charlottetown Affordable Housing Advisory Committee does not support IRAC's decision to increase rates at 5.4 and 10.8% come January 1st.
Yeah, and we could also maybe add, like, it will lead to more people on the streets. It'll lead to people on fixed incomes, like seniors, people on social assistance. It's going to impact them especially because, I mean, like, to be honest, if my rent got raised, I'll get a second job, but someone on a pension, you know,
See, so we'll put together a little motion.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Madam Chair, what you're saying there, and what I've been saying about, and of course, Mr. Campbell, about the need for more social, affordable, and subsidized housing is a responsibility of government that is mandated to do that with the collaboration with the city of Charlottetown. That can be an added document to this motion. It doesn't have to be incorporated in the motion. It can just be with further information.
Maybe Mike would like to move something like that, would he?
Well, I think if that's Philip, and I think it is, I think you're, Mr. Mayor, I guess is what I'm supposed to say. I think you're hit the nail on the head. So that somebody invest in rental property, in this environment, which makes, less housing available. That's one of the reasons speaking with Brad.
The system has detected that a few lines are still connected to the conference and will attempt to disconnect them. If you wish to remain in the conference, please press star 1. 15. To dial out, please dial the area code and number that you wish to connect to the conference, followed by the pound sign.
Mike, are you still there?
Press star to
or did it
return
cut
to the
off?
conference.
We can do the motion because all you have to do is start the meeting with quorum, right?
Yeah.
Don't you? Oh, jeez.
Should we try to, I can email him.
Yeah, or, can you call back in? No?
The conference is still on, so he just needs to add.
Okay.
Is he he's not in the building, is he? No.
Okay.
Just ask him if we can dial back in.
Jamie was on the committee, so she's Minister of Housing, or Deputy Minister of Housing, is she not? Jamie McDonald, that was here. And so she probably, obviously, would have a heavy hand in the decisions and for the temporary housing.
Yeah, and she definitely does.
Yeah.
Her and Jason Doyle.
Yeah.
Welcome to Bell Conferencing Solutions. Please enter your conference ID followed by pound. The moderator has not yet joined the conference. If you are the moderator, please enter your PIN followed by the pound sign. You are the first participant to join this conference. Please stand by.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Okay, you're back.
Okay. But I can't hear you now.
Okay, so we're waiting for you to come back so we could have quorum again to see if we could get you to do a motion to, basically we'll send something to council saying that we don't support the increase Iraq has set for this year.
Yeah, I hear you, and I don't know that I agree with it, but I, again, would like to hear Iraq's reasoning as to why they've done this.
We're not like to get that anytime soon.
Basically, anytime they make a decision, they put their reasoning, and
We may
it's
never get
essentially based on input from tenants and landlords, inflation, and like cost of oil, basically.
They have some kind of an algorithm that they use, yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate all that, and it's a juggling act. But I think I would agree that we could put a motion together that said that we're not necessarily in agreement with it, and would like some kind of explanation so that we can understand fully or oppose fully.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, well, let's put that together. So who's going to do it?
Yeah, so technically, what you're saying is that the Charlottetown Affordable Housing Advisory Committee opposes the increase in rent at 5.4% for non-fossil fuel heating and 10.8 for fossil fuel heating, which I think is a discrimination in itself. And I'd put that in the resolution that we oppose it, and any further information that we want to add or you want to add to the resolution will follow up in the package that goes to council. Is that all right, Alex? Do you know what I'm saying?
So you'll have to vote on that. And somebody, who is the mover on that?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Who's moving it?
Who's, like,
Bill's
the
moving it.
mayor is articulated a position, so
Yep.
we need a mover and a seconder.
I think that we would.
Mike?
We didn't put something in writing, a motion.
Kel, Mike?
I think we would be missing the boat if we didn't put a motion from this meeting saying that we're not happy with what we read and what they're trying to sell us. So I
Well,
don't
my
know-
motion would be that we're not happy with it, and certainly feel that we need more explanation.
And we will try to get a member of IRAC to come here and explain the algorithm that they use to come up with those numbers.
Bill, I don't think you'll get Iraq. That'd be like asking
A judge.
group of judges to come in and explain their decision. It's a quasi judiciary body. They also don't have to answer to the House, of which they were created from provincial legislation. But the province could override this decision if they called an emergency session of the legislative assembly. To get more information, we'd have to go to the document that Madam Chair referred to that was sent out by Iraq the day before yesterday. So that's how you'd get the information. But to say we're not happy is not happy meaning opposed or just unhappy.
Right.
Oh, you
Yeah.
would use the word opposed, Philip,
Yeah.
I think.
So, do you want me to move something? then?
Yeah, so.
Oh, okay.
d- d-
I move that we raise our voices to say that we're not happy with the percentages put forth by IRAC. And until we receive more explanation as to how they came up with that, we remain opposed to it. That's my motion.
Yeah, I think I would second that, but we could also maybe ask them to, one, explain, but more importantly, I think reconsider. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they always do put out kind of an explanation for decisions like that, but I think they should reconsider it.
And just a point of order, Madam Chair, you can't second a resolution. You're the chair, so you have to get someone on the floor.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mike.
But on the same token, I think that we should, regardless of who Iraq is in the hierarchy of things, I think that we should ask them to come and have a chat with our committee and discuss the issue, because those are the same issues that I understand this committee is supposed to be addressing and dealing with, making recommendations to and against.
It's Alex here. I'm just going to follow up from what the mayor said, that IRAC is, they are called a quasi-judicial body, and I have to deal with IRAC on planning decisions, and they won't even accept a letter from me in regard to where a decision is in regard to that. So they are autonomous. They're specifically put in that role for that purpose. And then maybe my last comment is in regard to Bill's resolution. You want your resolution to be as punchy as possible. So instead of unhappy, I mean you just say opposed, right? I mean you just want to be as
Right.
You just want to be as clear, and the more you can tighten up your resolution, the better it is. And I'm just, as a person that has to deal with resolutions, it's much more precise. Thank you.
Well, you can change that word to oppose.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the motion again?
I don't disagree with that, Alex, and use opposed instead of unhappy, but I really don't care who IRAC is or who they think they are. This committee's been asked to address some of these matters, and they seem to be the people with the ultimate authority. I think it's only reasonable that they should at least come and have a talk with the committee, so the committee can at least understand their thinking and reasoning and where they're coming from.
Considering the government's publicly voicing discontent with the IRAC numbers, I would say that's in the realm of possibility that they would come, because they're getting pressure from the government to do something, and we represent a fairly important body, advisory body to the city. Pressure from those two places might bring someone, to our meeting.
If nothing else, we could invite them, and if they decline, that's on the record.
From what I understand, this is just like talking to one of my friends who like writes legislation and stuff. From what I understand, really the only way to kind of get over IRAC is to basically write a different rent control into legislation. I don't know.
Yeah, I think your audience is the provincial government. It's not IRAC. IRAC is like I'm not here to defend IRAC, but IRAC is they have this. They have their role for a specific reason, and but the oversight is the government. So if you want to have an impact, and again, I'm not IRAC is all about lawyers, and it's a little bit in regard to, beyond my wheelhouse in regard to what they can or can't do. But I think your audience is the provincial government, who oversees in general IRAC, but there's. IRAC does have this autonomous role that's there for a purpose, and I'm pretty confident that they will not be coming to us, or anyone for that matter, but if you want to address the provincial government, who represents all islanders, that's a potential leverage that you may have. Thank you.
The provincial government or the department did say that they might have to go to the legislature to pass a bill or
I don't know how much. The head of IRAC is my next door neighbor, and he's pretty good on a confidential basis to discuss a lot of things. But I could tell him how much we need somebody from his organization to come here and speak to us. That I could apply a little bit of personal pressure.
I think, if you can do that informally, I think it's much more effective than this group trying to, Right, well, it's in the minutes.
Your live stream, bud.
Yeah.
Scott McKenzie might scalp me.
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing too is I'm not certain. Does Mr. McKenzie does he deal with all the rent control component as well? I know he does land use planning.
He's the CEO. He's the executive director.
Yeah.
I think that's his role, but he oversees the operations of IRAC.
Right.
So
Anybody know where this motion is? Can somebody?
no, that's what Robin.
Yeah, you saw me. Okay, I kind of just wrote some random stuff. We can kind of clean it up. But I basically said, when Paul asked what to put in the minutes, I basically wrote down, Affordable Housing Committee opposes I think it's 5.4 plus or 10.8, depending on oil heat, and as the allowable rent increase, probably put for 2023. And then I kind of added in on the basis that it will lead to further homelessness, food insecurity, would be especially harmful for those on fixed income. The decision should be reconsidered. I also just added in, inflation is kind of like a paradox on PEI because rent is the reason inflation is so high here, a major reason. Rent in the last year has gone up 15.3%, and that's part of the equation to find the inflation percent, which is around 11, I think. So it's almost contradictory to raise rent based on inflation when inflation, in our case, is majorly caused by rent. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how to word that in a good way, but.
Chair, I would just, again, recommend, keep it simple with a punch. The other aspects that you raise in that would be in the whereas. That becomes part of the whereas, so that's more of a formal resolution, and then be it resolved. But I think all we're looking for today is just to have a resolution that states very clearly, the Charlottetown Affordable Housing Advisory Committee opposes the increase of 5.4, 10.8% respectively, based on oil. But based on heat source. That's a good way to put it.
So when Scott said picking the trees off his lawn with him, and I'm there with him, I say, by the way, Scott, have a look at this motion we passed the other day.
Yeah.
You should turn your mic off.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah, so would we basically just put then, the Affordable Housing Committee opposes the 5.4 and 10.8
For heated,
respectively, depending on heat source?
yeah,
For the allowable rent increase for 2023,
yeah, yeah.
January 1st, 2023? And should we put opposes IRAC's decision? Yeah.
Yeah. This,
Yeah, it would be in, and this, therefore we resolve, we oppose that the decision of IRAC on the date, when was the decision rendered?
I could find it.
Or you can ask Mike if he wants to move it and call it a second. I will, don't get me wrong, I don't want to be all over the minutes.
It was September 21st.
you're worried about your neighbor.
Okay. Ellen, did you get?
The gist of it, or? Okay.
Or Paul, sorry. Paul, yeah.
So, you want me to do this? Okay.
You want me to do it?
Or is Mike interested?
Okay, the City of Charlottetown Advisory Housing Committee opposes the proposed, the announced rate increases in rent from IRAC of 5.4% and 10.8% depending on heat source. Period. Yeah. Yeah. All in favor? Or, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Madam Chairman.
I'm for that. I'm in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Is Mike there?
Hello.
Are you an A or a?
Yeah, I'll support that.
Okay.
You ready for the question? All in favor?
All in favor? Yeah.
Or the Robert's Rules of Order?
I can't remember the last time I looked at Robert's Rules of Order. I think it shows.
What was, you were saying about therefore be it resolved? What was that about?
There, you incorporated in the resolution.
Okay.
Because you stated the decision that was rendered by IRAC on September, what was it?
September 21st.
Okay.
That just has to be That's part of the opposition.
Okay.
We'll get a copy of that sooner than later. The minutes?
Ellen usually emails and asks me by a certain date, and then I email them like that day.
Look forward to your email, Ellen.
So, Madam Chair, will this, or Alex, will this be part of this coming special meeting of council or the regular monthly meeting in, okay, so it's part of the regular monthly meeting in October? Okay,
When is that?
that would be, I think,
Monday of
Monday is a holiday, so it's the day after the 11th of October.
Did we already talk about this? I can't remember.
Talk about it?
Yeah.
Not that I know.
Okay. It's already 1. Do you want to bring it up really quick?
Oh, what time is it? It's 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Actually, Bill
Thank
can't
you.
bring it up. So you'll have to bring it up on his behalf. So that's.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay,
I'll leave
sorry.
Yeah,
the room if I have
you're
to.
right.
Sorry.
Yeah, and you should. Just leave the room.
Get gone.
Then I'm gonna escort you in.
Well, I don't mind, and I don't want to be.
Wait, how does that work if,
It's an issue that doesn't, not only will affect me, but all the buyers and sellers in town eventually that are within the original 500 lots.
And just a reminder, we're on open session, so it's the broadcasted live.
Totally.
Discussion that we have here.
okay. How does that work because he had to leave? Do we not have quorum now?
You don't have quorum, no.
So we can't talk about this.
Well, you can talk about it, but you can't make any, you
Any
can't take any,
decisions?
you can't
Okay.
take any kind of a decision on it. You can introduce it, but you
That
can't.
makes sense.
Yep.
Just to confirm that you're okay to bring it up after COVID, like, it's broadcasted live.
Okay. Well, we could wait on it. I'm just not sure what.
Again, I mean, I'm just a resource again to this committee, but that may be a more prudent thing to do if you've got more members,
Yeah.
to bring it up and have the discussion with them, because, we're very tight on quorum today, and again, with
Yeah.
Mr. Campbell having to leave the room, you don't have quorum, so what you can do with it, you're gonna have to likely bring it up again anyway, so.
Yeah.
I just
I
throw
would
that out.
actually.
This is the first time I'm seeing it too, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's a good point.
I wasn't sure if you
So,
got to read it.
so, the information has been dropped off. You folks can peruse it, and then you can bring it up at the next meeting if you so desire.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Is that everything we have? Okay. Can I move to adjourn it? Yeah, right? Okay. I'm good to adjourn the meeting. If anyone wants to second it.
I'll second it.
Perfect, thank you.
You can ask for the motion, but you can't, so you're gonna have to get Mike to second.
Mike Bodger, yeah.
Hello.
Yep, just.
Hello.
Did you second the motion? Yeah, you did, right?
For which?
To adjourn the meeting, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye now.
Bye.